Flat Earth Debate, Uncut and After Show. I'm your host Nathan Oakley, and if you are new to this channel, or you've not done so already, then be sure to subscribe, hit the bell notification icon and join button if you'd like to become a Nathan Oakley 1980 channel member and keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. If you'd like to support the channel, there is a super chat that runs alongside each of these shows while they premiere, and there's also a coffee, Patreon, crypto and thanks button in the info box below the video. Speaking of Patrons, I'm going to do a quick shout out to all of you who do support me on Patreon. So, a massive shout of thanks and appreciation to Smith Tools and Purchase, Level Plain Poem, Amish, Vitali Z, Colton James, BG, Survive the Spin, FE Patriot, On the Level, Thomas van der Zander, Gary Hughes, Measured Flat, Chris Wouters, Sea-Level Cultist, Mitch Kennedy, Rod, The Name's Burley, Twadwazzle, Jason Hornsby, Christoph Fournier, Flat Earth Travolta, JMels24, Unimento, M, Iron26, Endless, Golden McKinnon, Retro Bill, Michael Kahn, John Kays, Patrick Gunnells, Banter, Mel B. Styles, Hairy Blade, Mobile Max 777, Rob W, Del West Watson, Unbelievable Productions, Blue Ridge Ranger, Abraham Mohammed, Skeptic 936, Texas Mike, Chow Yun Cat, David Wayne Foster, and Dank. So another massive thank you to all of you for supporting me on Patreon. Links to Patreon are below this video. And with that, I'll hand across to whoever is in Discord and Google so you can enjoy their dulcet tones while I set up for today's live show.
Can't believe it, because my buddy Elvis is having the same problem for like 5 days ago, dude. The same problem. He was like, no, what are you talking about? Sun changes. When I lose it, like when in California, when I can't see it anymore, it goes west. Like, dude, it doesn't matter from where you see it. The sun itself does not change the direction of travel. Sun, moon, and stars move east to west, bro. Please, you gotta, okay. I'm gonna stop right now, bro, but I'm telling you, you're not getting this. Ask people in the chat, make a poll or something. Ask anybody who knows anything about how the sky works.
I don't need to, I
know
see
Google
it for myself.
says it too, but Google, we're not gonna take Google as Google's word, but
I'm not Googling
this is what's
anything.
happening in the sky.
I keep telling you, that's what I see with my own eyes, but you just won't have it.
No, you won't have it. I'm telling you, I don't care what you see, bro. The sun doesn't change direction of the travel, and that's my only point. What you see is like, it's just perspective. I don't care. Sometimes you see it from left, sometimes from right. If you turn around from right, sometimes more north, sometimes more south. Those are angles. They're just angles, different seasons, different latitudes. You're going to see the sun come from, but generally it's always coming from the east and disappearing in the western horizon. Southwestern, northwestern, doesn't matter. The general direction of travel does not change. And that's my only point. I don't care how you see and what you see it and where you perceive it. The sun travels east to west.
Yeah, for me, until it reaches its apex.
Again, you go for you. Like, are you like doing this on purpose, or are you like?
I'm just telling you what I see.
Just don't want to get.
I'm just telling you what I see.
You tell me again what you see, bro, but I'm telling you what the sun does. Here's Elvis, like he's not getting the same thing, dude. I'm telling you what the sun does. I'm not telling you what you see, bro. I'm telling you, you can perceive at different seasons or at different latitudes. You're gonna perceive it at different angle, right? But it's always gonna be generally from the east and generally disappearing in the western horizon. The sun does not change the direction. It's always east to west. Very easy to understand, bro. Don't tell me again what you're doing and what you're seeing. The sun, I'm telling you, the sun travels east to west. You will get this sooner or later, bro. Brian said I'm technically right too, because that's what the sun does. But then again, he wants to tell me how you can perceive it at certain times. I understand that. Different latitudes and different seasons, you're going to see the sun from different angle. But sun itself doesn't change the direction of the travel. It's always east to west.
Okay. I mean, that's not how I see it.
Again, you're going how to, like, it's almost like you're doing this on purpose to me, dude. Like, it's like...
Well, I don't know what you mean by doing it on purpose. I'm not going to deny the evidence of my own eyes, am I?
And I'm telling you about the sun, and you're telling me again about you. And I'm telling you again, it's not about you, bro. It's your perspective. I'm to explain you for the 5th time. Your perspective of where the sun rises and sets is different based on latitudes and different seasons. You're going to perceive it differently. But generally, even for you, it's always going to come from the east and disappear into western horizon. And for everyone on earth, people in Russia, the sun is going to come from east to them. And it's going to disappear in the western horizon. People in Africa or anywhere, the sun is going to come from the east, disappear in the western horizon. Because that's what the sun does. It doesn't change the direction of its travel. You need to understand this, bro.
Okay, then.
Okie dokie then. What's on the plate for today, man?
I don't know. See what someone shares with me and I'll respond to it. Very rarely do I actually prepare a show. Yesterday was, I don't know, I can't actually remember another time that I've prepared a show in advance. Yesterday was the first time. So I don't know.
Let me go look. If everybody who's here, if you guys can look through YouTube videos, if there's anything interesting, worthy of review, I'll go on mute and I'll go check it out myself.
I've shared the G Plus link, but nobody's here. Normally someone's here by now.
So I'll be here as long as I can. My phone may get shut off. So if you don't hear from me in a few days, you know why. But for weeks, I'll be flowing in again. The work is there. So once the work is there, I'm good. Make 300, 400 a day. Sometimes 500 if there's extra work going on. You know what I'm saying?
I don't know. Is it physical graft? Is it going to break you?
What's that?
Is it physical graft that will break you?
It doesn't matter. My knowledge in the trade, I could just run the job and be useful. You understand what I'm saying?
Fair enough.
Just lay it out. Let's go. I mean, I'll get down and I'll work, but if something's too much for me, I will get assistance. So when the work is there, it's lucrative. So I just got to get back because remember, since November 1st, I haven't worked. So that's a lot of weeks. It's a lot of weeks with no income coming in. Thanks to you and your community, I was able to hang in there. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Now we'll plow through, Nathan. We'll plow through. How's it going on your end?
Everything's fine. I mean, what have you heard?
The shows I'm talking. How you feeling about the shows since TFE?
I mean, there was an influx of more people for a short period of time there. But that seems to have normalised now. So, everything seems to be back exactly as it was previously. Took, what, less than a month?
Yeah, I think they thought that was going to be like the second ball, like Netflix was their first one. It really didn't do anything. Now it's the second one, and this ain't going to do anything. They're running out of schemes. When I say they, I'm talking about the powers that be, or whoever it is that's trying to silence the nature of our reality. I think they're going to give up soon.
What do you mean they? They is us. So long as there's people out there that want to believe in this and academics are propped up for promoting it, what could possibly change?
Well, Nathan, I think it's more than just them wanting to know when Easter was. There's something nefarious here. I mean, they've got the entire world believing that we are living on a globe and we are in a solar system and we are flying through space, correct?
That's just Copernican maths, though, isn't it? So when you say you can't believe that they just wanted to know better when the stars would be where they'd be. Well, yeah, they did. They wanted a unified system to better predict where the stars would be. Why do you think Copernicus and Huygens and Kepler, why do you think they're doing what they're doing?
So you don't think they realized that by doing this, it is totally contrary, first of all, to the Word of God, and it's totally contrary to our reality?
No, I think they're charged as the astronomers of the time with making better predictions. And as good servants of the church, they probably thought they were doing an exceptionally good job with this out-of-the-box thinking that better predicted when the stars would be where they expected them to be in a unified system that they could tally up with a calendar. That's what happened. That's their rhetoric. I mean, that might not be what happened. And frankly, I don't care. That's the story. What do you want?
Yeah, but they didn't realize that zealots were going to be created, and that 200 years later or 300 years later, or however many years later it is, that we're going to have religious zealots fighting for this system.
Fighting for it, adding to it. Right? You get Lemaitre further down the line and Big Bang and all the rest of the stuff that comes along with it, right through to the present day where they're coming up with explanations for dark matter. And, you know, the rhetoric continues because people want to affirm that particular position, and they do. So when you're like, oh, well, it's the powers that should not be. No, there's people thinking they're doing science when they're coming up with the Higgs boson and, you know, all this sort of stuff. The God particle.
I got it now. They want it locked them into a fantasy.
Stop saying they. Right, start saying we.
Well, people. Just
Yeah,
say
we.
people.
Us.
We, people, humans. It locked them into us into a fantasy. Right?
Hold on, Neil. They, unless you're leaning into the conspiratorial hidden hand, there is no they.
No, I'm saying us.
Us, yeah.
I understand what you're saying now. They set out to do, meaning Copernicus and them, something for the church. Now, we as people, we're buying into that fantasy, thinking that there's other worlds out there in outer space, when before it was just beyond the horizon, like you always say. So now this fantasy has made people think it's a reality, and they are fighting for it. Right. And like you said, they think they're doing science. That's why I think it's so important that we get back to the basics.
The
scientific method.
We think we are doing science.
As us.
It's us. We're doing it.
Yeah. Yeah, get back to basics. We got to get what science is and what it is not.
Yeah, but for the fact that the people who prop up the heliocentric model and have done throughout the timeline we're presented with throughout history, we wouldn't have a heliocentric model to believe in, but it keeps on getting propped up. We used to describe it as filling in the cracks in the heliocentric nonsense. Yeah? Well, that's people who are like, oh, this doesn't quite make sense. Let's see if I can make it make sense. Do some science. But that's what it is, isn't it, Neil? People thinking they're doing science when they're not.
Yeah, and they fight against you when you try to explain to them, but that's not science.
Yeah. The system's set up to indulge people in this, isn't it? If you want to point to a system, point to the education system or NASA, fine, that's different. If you want to, reify that as an entity. But it isn't. That's just people as well, isn't it? It's just us. Back to the guy behind the curtain in The Wizard of Oz. Not some all-powerful entity. It's just some guy.
Some guy with a booming voice, but when the curtain's pulled, he's just some guy.
Yeah. Refraction? Why? Because a few guys said so. Now it's part of the rhetoric. Why not? Arwin figured this out, right? He's like, so the rhetoric can be whatever you want it to be, so long as you can make it prevalent in the mind's eye of whoever's listening to you. Yes. So I can just create bits of rhetoric then. Yeah. True because you made it up yourself. Make it popular and then it becomes real. In the mind's eye of somebody who's creating their worldview with what you've said, bullshit or otherwise, it becomes part of their worldview. Why? Because you said so. Why else? Is it because anybody's been to space that they believe in space? Well, someone said that there was space and then showed them a picture of it on a stage. Now, typically, people will suspend disbelief when they see Superman flying, but in this instance, they don't think they're suspending disbelief when they see men flying around in a space station. It's the same suspension of disbelief.
Yeah, but you'll have people come in and say you can't assume that because we have gas pressure here on Earth that gravity can't keep it contained, but then there's outer space above us. But you can't have above us because we're on a ball. It's like so convoluted. But like you say, it's natural law, right? Gas fills space.
Yeah. You can't, it's a phraseology thing, because you want to detach yourself from humanity doing this. Yeah? You say they. And then it's one step detached from society doing it, society defending the stories. Yeah? As long as the majority of people just have the mainstream church rhetoric from Tyson, and any detractors get tangled up in the anti-flat earth detraction, and out of that will hopefully come some blooming, blossoming rebuttal for the globe side to utilise, like refraction, right? That's born out of the debate, isn't it? The necessity to have some explanation for a physical geometric sphere edge anomaly. So that is brought forth by us, just by people.
Yeah, right. So when you have people like Neil deGrasse and Elon Musk and all these promises of going to Mars and this, that, and the other, I think the problem is there's an internet now. Like flat Earth can't be just shut down like it was in years past,
Yeah,
where the information only goes so far.
Yeah, it can. You can have a metaphorical book burning very easily on the internet. You can purge whatever you like, and then you can algorithmically censor people from finding stuff and leave people who have found it in a hole. So, yeah, you can control it. Likewise, when you were controlling what was published in the libraries, what was allowed to be read by the people. Metaphorically, we have the same thing, but with the internet, it's just much easier to control.
No, see, hold on. But now you're all over the world. Now you have pockets all over the world because of the internet. Whereas maybe the message didn't get out when others tried, like Robotham and all those other people. They didn't have what we have. We have a golden tool called the internet where the message can get out all over the world.
Maybe. That's just an illusion, in my opinion.
Hey, good morning, Neil. Good morning, everybody in the voice chat. Nathan, did you want to test this video before the show starts?
I had a look at it. We don't have to get into the video. I mean, thank you for getting it, though. I mean, if there's
No,
a
I just
little...
know you always check for the sound before the video starts, so
Yeah, I can give
no
you
worries.
a quick sound.
Today, we're going to talk about Jaron Campanella, a flat earther who accidentally disproved his entire worldview. Now, conspiracy theories are a lot of fun. Some of them will get you banned if you even mention them. Others are more...
That's good to me.
So that accomplished what it needed to accomplish. This Jaron Campanella going, and now they can make videos of how a major flat earther has gone back to the globe, came to his senses when he saw a proof of a 24-hour sun. That proves nothing. You see the game?
I don't care. Yeah. I do see the game. And I can walk straight past it because I got better things to do.
But we planted our flag right here, and we're going to continue to march forward because we know Earth is measured flat. You can't get around that. See, they try, and this drives me crazy with them. They know damn well that you cannot get an elevation angle off a curved surface, they'll do mental gymnastics to try and figure this thing out when it can't be figured out. It cannot be done. Earth is flat.
Yes, Neil. As for the people seeking cope from this, yeah, this videographer is the same as every other videographer we've covered so far. They're just seeking cope. This was positioned for globe cope. I appreciate the flat earthers that are on the crappy end of the stick when it's them being used for globe cope. It's tough luck. This wasn't made for flat earthers. It was made for globe believers. So when you see the globe believers reacting to it, you're like, yeah, you need cope. You need Jaron to be relinquishing his belief in flat earth so you don't have to worry about it. Obviously, I don't have to look into it or concern myself with it. Even the leader himself has walked away from it. Okay, well, don't look into it. You know, that's the mainstream rhetoric. The guy who's claimed to be the leader has relinquished his flat earth map, therefore you can carry on believing you're on a globe. Good for you.
We keep moving forward on the flat earth. They must have paid him a lot of money for that.
You reckon?
Somebody had a meeting with him. He got big. Or this could have happened too. Maybe get disgusted with it. He has enough followers now, and you could read it in their chats when you go in there just to see what's going on, and you see people behind them even still. So he figured, listen, I got my YouTube channel. I'll still make money doing this. I'll talk about other things, but I could distance myself from this flat earth.
If you say so. Because there's always going to be globers seeking cope from him, isn't there?
Well, they have to, because they know it's measured flat too. They know it right from the start.
Can't automatically assume that even if they say it, they understand and appreciate Earth being measured flat, even if they're giving it you or I in an example where they measure Earth flat to then suggest it's a ball with calculations utilising the flat Earth measurements they've utilised. Yeah? Like you said, you went back to some of the old shows, Neil, and listened, and there's rhetoric from our opponents in the past that are telling us Earth's measured flat in their examples. And along with that, they justify why that would be okay, like Earth's so big. But you don't hear it until you realise it yourself. Oh, right, so you need a flat Earth to make this example then. You need to measure Earth flat to make this claim. Until we saw it, you can't exactly expect our opponents to appreciate that when they say, oh, yeah, well, we measured this flat Earth elevation angle. But that's only because it's a really big ball and that. That doesn't make any sense. And you hear it and just, you know, it's... I don't know why it didn't sink in when we were hearing it originally. As recently as the Earth discussions or whatever it was, I've forgotten the name of the videographer that went on with Patrick Gunnels. But the guy on there, claiming to be some captain of a boat, was talking about how Earth is measured flat, but only because it's so big.
Yeah, that was always the go-to. Well, Earth is so big. I remember hearing that. Still hear it now for the longest time. Earth is so big, it appears flat.
But that appears flat isn't the crux of the demolition, is it? It's measured flat. Oh, it looks flat because it's really big, but it's actually a big ball. Here's how we measure a flat Earth elevation angle to derive a radius to suggest it's a ball with calculations. No, let's forget about how it looks and appears. It's measured flat. And the assertion of it being a ball comes from those flat Earth measurements, doesn't it?
Absolutely. How are you?
I'm good.
Good morning.
Good morning. Good to have you. How's it going? Well, that's good to know. Any evidence of a physical geometric sphere edge That's a horizon formerly known as Earth curvature.
No, can't have horizons in a
None
sphere.
that haven't been black swanned away.
What about if some dude comes up with the idea that there's two media and you can apply Snell's law, aka refraction? Do we then have a physical geometric sphere edge for a horizon?
No, if it's refraction, then it's not a physical sphere edge.
Right, but you appreciate that it sounds good when somebody in recent times comes up with that as an explanation for why we can't see but have got a geometric sphere edge horizon that is calculable but not measurable based on the non-physical limitation being refracted. I mean, it sounds good when it's explained in detail with lots of complicated maths, but we appreciate that that's not some hidden hand. Some dude came up with it, right? Us. We came up with that notion. People. Nobody's agreeing. I'm trying to...
No, yeah, Nick, it sounds so good. It makes me feel like I live on a globe right away.
No, that's not what I'm driving at. What I'm driving at is the idea that why is this lie being perpetuated? Who's the hidden hand behind the lie? And it's us. We are the ones that come up with it. It's like the Wizard of Oz and the guy behind the curtain. When you actually get down to the nitty-gritty of who comes up with this heliocentric smear of nonsense that overcomes the non-geometric physical edge that they told you would have a boat go over it, well, that's just come up with from some guy. Us. Not some hidden hand. You can track it down to some guy. And that is the same throughout history, as if you believe and trust history, in terms of where heliocentrism itself came from. You can track down the dude that came up with it. Right? It's just us, people. For whatever reason. And most people who have defended or invented aspects of the heliocentric paradigm, I'm without doubt certain that they had the best of intentions. Likewise, when people attack us vehemently, because they think we're nefarious, they also have the best of intentions, right? But again, they're not led, like shills, by some hidden hand paying them. They're doing it of their own volition. They don't need any incentive, they're doing it of their own devices. We are doing it of our own devices. Make sense? We seek out our own bias, and if we can't find it, we might invent some bias to believe in. And others can follow in the footsteps of the bias you create when you just invent a story to explain something that doesn't quite make sense in a paradigm that was invented at the behest of the Roman Catholic Church. I'm glad I got so much
That's
agreement.
what we're here for.
Go ahead, Adam.
I just said that's what we're here for.
Yes, timing is everything. Thank you, Adam. Any evidence of axial rotation of the Earth-based variety?
Wait a second, we're moving right now? Let me grab onto the wall.
No, you can track the elevation angles of the stars with respect to a plane and then describe that motion as the ground. Again, a nonsensical assertion that's defied by their own claim of proving it, which is the effect called Coriolis. An apparent deviation that we do not observe as a result of Earth turning beneath us as a non-inertial turning reference frame. To observe things seem to drift in the inertial reference frame. Nothing does, there is no effect. But the initial claim comes from the fact that we can see motion in the sky. Repositioned to be motion of the ground. Again, at the behest of the Roman Catholic Church to put us in heliocentric motion around the sun.
My middle son just said, if everything is moving, then nothing is moving.
I have no idea what that means. That's complete doublespeak.
That was deep.
Everything is moving, then nothing is moving is nonsensical.
Listen, that's my middle guy. He goes out there and he looks through the binoculars at the stars and the planets, and he's in wonderment. I just spent, while you were introducing the show, I was on mute explaining to him about flight, and he just ain't getting it. Tell me, no, you can fly around the curve.
We need to do that chapter in the book and then it's done. As soon as we've done the flights chapter, we can move to flat seas.
Outstanding.
I can't wait. Well, we should have got it done last night. It's just had a bad toothache. So hopefully he's been to the dentist today. He's probably at the dentist right now. The Adam Meakin, that is.
I knew.
Any scientific evidence of gravity?
I think if there was, we would know it by now. We would see it by now.
No? No scientific evidence of gravity?
Well, what would you accept?
I'd accept
It's specific gravity.
specific gravity. That's relative density.
Prove it.
No, that's just what it's called. Don't start, Neil. Please don't do this. Just because they've called something gravity with a caveat specific in this instance, right? It doesn't make it bogus like pseudo-Riemannian geometry that has no phenomena to observe. Specific gravity is a relabeling of relative density disequilibrium, a vector change you can describe as specific gravity if you wish. That doesn't alter that it's in whichever vector you like, up, down, whatever. But whoever said that, thank you for triggering, Neil. Well done.
Very good.
Didn't see who it was.
Well, they asked. I was asked the other day what would I accept for one of our housekeeping questions, which you just asked. Any scientific evidence of gravity? And I would accept scientific evidence of gravity. I don't understand. The question is pretty simple, right?
Sure, but when you give a term like specific gravity, that again wouldn't fall into scientific evidence, right? In terms of offering scientific validity when ascribing it to relative density disequilibrium, that is to say, if you observe or induce vector change, right? So the question would be, why is it that some things go down, some things go up, some things don't move at all? But that's a phenomena that you can describe occurring in nature. Some things go up, some things do go down, right? So how would you then vary and manipulate that which could cause that effect? That's to say, induce the vector change. Well, you can change the relative density of the medium the item is in and induce a vector change. Now, that's scientific validation for what would be more accurately described after the fact as relative density disequilibrium. Ergo, you're explaining a vector change by varying and manipulating the relative density of the medium the item is in. That can be called specific gravity, but it isn't scientifically validated when you just say specific gravity, because that's just relative density. Make sense? So it's still not scientific, is my point, unless you ascribe it to a vector change and explain it with cause and effect reasoning and a validated hypothesis. Bit like Anthony Riley did with his egg experiment.
That's what I was just going to bring up. Anthony Riley done an experiment, and he proved that if you change the medium, the egg will rise, right? He added salt, didn't he?
Yeah, so he induced a vector change. Yeah? But in terms of what's the observed phenomenon, it might be that you observe, I don't know, a bit of plant detaching from the bottom of a nice clear lake and floating up to the top. Or it might be that a bit of decaying, rotting leaf suddenly falls through the lake to the bottom. Whatever it is that you're observing, some things do go up, some things do go down, some things remain neutral. Obviously, I'm not doing either at the moment. I'm sat in a chair. Like most things are in equilibrium, generally speaking, right? But aside from the equilibrium that we generally observe, there are phenomena that occur within various mediums, and it's specifically dependent on their relative density, right? Something you can prove if you're asking the question based on the phenomena. Why did that go that way?
Yeah, so to describe it, we can say things that are denser than the medium that surrounds it will go down, and things that are less dense or more buoyant will go up.
Yes. Archimedes, basically.
Right, medium-based.
Yeah.
Medium
It isn't that complicated. I mean, you need to hijack something if you're going to assert that there's a force of down. Well, you need that vector, or what's being utilised to describe those vector in principles like Archimedes. Well, you can then change them into different words that mean the thing you're hijacking. Even give it the same word as the thing you're hijacking it with, in this case, gravity. Relabel it specific gravity when you've got what Newtonian, Einsteinian, quantum foam, got all these different gravities that they start inventing. And it's only to justify why gas isn't filling a sky vacuum in their rhetoric. Is it making things go down when not all things go down? Giving it a value, 9.8 meters per second. Down with respect to a plane. They'll need a flat Earth to describe their gravity. Of course, all roads lead to a flat Earth. Any single viable hypothesis from any of the fields of astronomy, cosmology, or astrophysics?
Negative.
What about any evidence of the distance to the sun?
My son's asking you, wants to ask you, what about things that orbit? He's standing here making breakfast, so he's hearing the whole thing.
But orbits,
can you answer him?
Well, orbits is Copernican, Keplerian, and it's mathematics only. The mathematics of orbits is derived from flat plane measurements, the angles to the stars that create that system, plotted into a world that can be changed into a sphere by deriving a minimum elevation angle to Polaris to give you a radial value, capable of back engineering the movement of the stars into a sphere Earth moving around the sun in that church-based rhetoric that starts its life with a measurement to a star off a flat Earth. So orbits is maths only. There are no such physical beasts as orbits. Talking about mathematics.
Thank you, Nathan. But his follow-up question is, what about satellites?
What about them?
He says you can see them and they're orbiting Earth.
You can see them orbit. No, you can't. You can just see them move across the sky, and by them you mean lights. That's not an orbit. That's them moving across the sky.
Yeah, so he said everyone on Earth, no matter where you are, you're going to see it moving across the sky.
Yeah, moving across the sky. That's right. Not orbits.
But
that's
it's not
maths.
an orbit.
Yeah, that's maths. Orbits are maths derived from flat plane measurements of angles to the stars to come up with the system that we've logged. That's to say pattern recognition has been used to derive minimums that create spheres that you can put in motion around the sun in maths. Orbits requires a flat Earth. Not to mention the asymptotically flat plane that orbits take place on once you've created the maths. All of the maths for orbits, if you actually look at any diagrammatical example of an orbit, it's a reification of maths that only take place in some computer simulation or a drawing. Nevertheless, it's taking place from the centre of Earth. That motion that the Earth is spinning about on an axis is with respect to an asymptotically flat plane, right? The plane that they have the planets move around the sun on. But they're deriving that from the centre of Earth. That motion can only be described with respect to a plane for an axis and for its motion. So you can only describe an orbit from the centre of Earth. In hell. Is your son a good Christian? Does he expect me to reify into existence the notion of being in the centre of Earth, mathematically, to move around the sun? I'm not in hell. I find that quite offensive. Can you let him know?
Yeah, he said he's assuming a wall, because if I get what he's saying, that you hit it right in the head, it's moving across the sky. So it's basically moving straight. If there is a satellite up there and it's going, I see it here and they're seeing it in California, you can't assume that it's taking the shape of a ball. You would have to assume that.
Sure, but the motion of orbits, as I've just described, takes place from within a ball, mathematically.
Yeah, but you'd have to be in the center of the Earth.
No, that's an incorrect statement.
Again, tech, maybe he's just taking a call and that was an accidental hot mic. Blah, tech, not a doctor. Did you want to add something? I hate Discord.
Yeah, one second. No. Well, 1 second. I'll get my my headphone.
No, that's fair enough. The Discord does that. It just takes people randomly off mute when they get a phone call or something. It's like they want to invite people to hot mic. Anyway, no worries.
Yeah,
Well, that was a very good obituary, Nathan.
Obituary? Excuse me? What?
Obituary.
Obituary. Boom, boom.
Good one.
Hey, John.
Okay, mic check 1 2.
Hello.
Yes, Blartech, you're good. Is your name John too?
Okay, I just want to jump in real quick regarding the whole satellite thing, right? The problem is you cannot verify what you're looking at ground level at an object that is more than 20,000, 40,000, 50, 60, 100,000 feet. That's a problem for you,
For who?
isn't it? Whoever is saying there's a satellite in the sky cannot verify from ground level that there's an object at that height. This is a big problem.
Yeah, I see what you mean. With specific reference to satellites. Yeah, I get what you're saying.
Like, for example,
high
like you
ground
could go
level?
to the website and say, oh, there's a satellite moving across at this time or that time. But honestly, you just don't have any evidence. You're relying on the government or whoever's running these websites to do whatever information they're doing. And you can't just rely on that in science or math.
Fair enough. Right, please share the show if you've not done so already. 75 people watching currently. Smash that share button. Stick it on your favourite social media platform, Bebo or MySpace, whatever you use.
How high is it above ground level before it's considered a satellite?
These are lights in the sky that they've just hijacked, in my opinion. They need an explanation for these lights.
No, they're just, yeah. No, all these
Ground
lights you
level?
see in the sky are low, what's the word? Low level drones or balloons. They're not satellites.
Why are you doing so well? Why would you need to make that as a positive assertion? Prove that they're drones. Go.
I don't need to prove it because we know that the satellites don't exist.
Yeah, you can make that, and I'm all with you all the way, and I was until you started making positive claims about what they were. Now I'm like, whoa, hold on. How do you know they're a drone?
And then when asked about them, saying, "Oh, I don't need to," it's a bit
Okay.
unreasonable.
Okay. Go to your browser and type in low-level Google drones. That's it. You don't need any
Low
other
level.
information.
Yeah, but that correlation doesn't necessarily tell you that the lights in the sky at one particular stage claim to be a satellite is going to be what you tell me to go to look at on Google. It still stands that you make a positive claim.
You know what? The government could pump up dozens or thousands of drones at any one time.
You're going to defend this, aren't you? I can't believe it. You can't defend this.
No. But they don't need you as reference to say
Sure.
yes or no.
But what I'm objecting to is if I see something go by in the sky and I look it up on a website, it says this is satellite Beta Theta 27,000,005 going by at this time, and I go, all right, according to this website, that's a satellite. What you've just said is no, that'll be a drone. But you can't prove that, right? But you didn't need to make that positive claim. But just for the sake of making it clear to you, hold on, I'm nearly done. Just for the sake of making it clear to you, you were doing really well until you made that positive claim. Now, if I was your opponent, I'm not, I'm your friend, right? But I could keep you here all day on that positive claim you've now made and didn't need to.
Because you could name a satellite anything you want. You could name a drone anything you want.
Yes.
Because you don't have any control over that.
Yeah.
The government controls the drones. The government controls the so-called satellite.
God, you're going to die on this hill whether I like it or not. Hopefully my point's been made clear for my audience at the very least. But fair enough. It could be a drone. Okay, fine.
How high above sea level will that drone or satellite be?
Did you hear his question? Blah, tech, not a doctor.
Oh,
How high?
you could just, as I said, type into your browser Google satellite or Google drones,
We got that.
photography drones, whatever.
We got that. But you're being asked
You
me.
don't need to know anything else.
You know how high they are, though?
No, I don't.
Well, I know they claim to be hundreds of miles away above the Earth, and if you take
Hold on, guys. John's trying to lead you somewhere. If you can't detect that, it's not subtle. Oh, right, John. So apparently hundreds of miles. What say you, refracted curvature?
It's
Above
not 100
sea level?
miles.
Oh, my God. Let's try that again. Do it even less subtly. John, the guy lining up this example that you wouldn't play ball with. Someone else has now played ball with him, and I'm going to hand the mic to John to hopefully make his point that he was leading up to. Go ahead, refracted curvature.
So this is, all these examples are above sea level or surface level, right? We're talking
Yes.
about height above some level.
Yeah, you'll need a flat plane to describe the height. Earth is measured flat. When they make these assertions about these things above the surface, how high? Above surface level will they be exactly? Proving Earth's flat with measurements.
And the linear distance measurement.
Yeah, the distance itself vertically or horizontally will be linear, not curved.
Yeah, but for the moment, isn't it kind of irrelevant because he claimed what they are rather than anything about the Earth?
I've laboured
So he
that. And
claims
he wants to die on that hill mush. There's nothing I can do about it. I'll rather move on.
Exactly.
Fair enough. The rest of it was perfectly sound, right? I can name that light whatever I like. Now, based on what we know through history, again, based on their rhetoric, why are we in a heliocentric paradigm? Well, because we've taken pattern recognition that one step further and tried to explain it with maths. Fine. But does that not suggest that there's other lights that don't necessarily comport with the heliocentric narrative that still need an explanation? So I'm going to call that theta beta 2000 million and one going by at this particular time on my sat tracker on my PC, right? I can call it whatever. That was his point, right? And I agree. I can call it whatever I like. I can call that light the Dark Knight. I can call that the ISS. Just make up a story. Look, it kind of looks like this weird contraption that would make no sodding sense to be up there in that particular form, but it looks like the light we observed, doesn't it? Now check out our stage show with men on trapezes.
Yeah, but Nathan, can I just make one point, bro? There's actually people out there who believe that they can see the ISS, which is claimed to be 250 plus miles above the Earth, and it's the same size as an airplane, and you can barely see airplanes 6-7 miles above Earth. People claim they can see ISS. Just makes zero sense.
Well, the distinction must be made. There are lights in the sky, and I'm saying that given that we've got a rhetoric about what they are, if anything defies that, it must have an explanation. Now, the thing they call the ISS, you can see something that they call the ISS and have a story about. And it's got a weird shape to it. Now, over time, they've refined the story with different space stations. Mir, Skylab, the ISS. Eventually, we'll get better clarity of that light in the sky. The telescope technology will improve and we'll get a more clear picture of it. And suddenly, the ISS will need crashing and we'll need a more advanced version that will get a different name. I don't know how long that'll take. Let's say it's 10 years from now. Yeah, ISS is out of date. We've smashed it into the ground. Now there's the ISS-2. And look, it just about matches what we see with the telescope. Isn't that convenient? Just like Mir matched whatever that light was when it was Mir. Or Skylab. You know what I mean? They just make up stories for lights in the sky.
Could call it a sky story.
I like yesterday's videographer.
Yeah, a little reference.
Is there any evidence of a self-perpetuating molten iron core at the centre of a presupposed spherical Earth? No? What about any evidence that you can have pitch data?
What?
That's flight data from craft on a
Okay, what did you
Earth.
say?
Go ahead, Amish, underground.
What was your question again?
Blah tech, not a doctor. Go ahead.
Hmm?
Okie dokie then. The evidence you can have pitch
He
data
asked
on a
what your
globe.
housekeeping question was, Nathan. He wants you to repeat the molten iron core housekeeping question. He didn't quite hear it.
Oh, did he not? Is that what he was asking for? Any evidence of a self-perpetuating molten iron core at the centre of a presupposed spherical Earth?
Of course not. It's a total creation of man. We know there's no molten core. We know there's no globe. This is facts.
Oh, that reminds me. We needed you the other day, John. So we need to get some citations for horizontal planes of reference used in measurements that are ultimately hijacked to assert a molten iron core. So we were tying up that particular chapter in the book, and we're like, we need some citations here. And I was like, I don't know who to ask or turn to. So maybe John. So I sent you a message on Skype about it, actually.
Oh, I'm sorry. The P waves and S waves? Yeah, I'll look it up right quick.
Oh, that'd be so handy. Thank you. If you do get something, if you can drop it in Master B, I'll transfer it into whatever we've titled our book group. Sorry to do this on a live stream, people watching. We'll get back to housekeeping in a sec. What's the name of the book group? I don't know if you're in the book group, whatever it's called. Book review. There we go. Yeah, if you're in book review, if you can stick it in there. John, refracted. Is it still reflected? It is still reflected. Okay. Any evidence of the R value, Earth radius? Don't all go at once.
That's a flatter thing.
It is. Minimum elevation angle to Polaris. You've got to back engineer it onto a ball and have it match with the measurements of the stars in a latitude-based system. So, yeah, based on flat Earth angle measurements in the first instance. Gone are the days of us saying you'll need to presuppose R. No. You've got to back calculate it, like shown in this diagram, from this centre point out. That's the minimum elevation angle to Polaris. This is redundant. This is a glorified protractor. What you're actually measuring is a North Pole-centric system, and that's the outside minimum, where Polaris goes below the horizon. You can't see it anymore, in other words. Then you have to start using a different system. Then they use the south with a poleless system, because there isn't a star to do this with. A very distorted south system. Nevertheless, that's the minimum. So to calculate it into a radial value and turn it into a sphere you can put in motion about a spherical sun that you're moving around requires a back engineerable minimum. That's radial value. And that's minimum outside edge. We know it as the equator. It's actually the minimum elevation angle to Polaris. The basis of the latitude grid, basically. That's what they wrap around a ball, measured flat with Polaris. 101 people watching. Woohoo! Please share the show if you've not done so already. Smash that share button. 2 clicks.
But are they on YouTube?
101 people, yeah, they are.
Oh, hello, YouTube. How you going?
How's things in New Zealand?
No, je suis Australian.
You're an Australian?
Yes.
Oh, right. You sound like a New Zealander.
Yes, we're in a death grip right now in Australia. We're fighting liberal politics, leftist politics, and the panic that Trump has taken office. And all this progressive ideology that has emerged in the past 12, 15 years is about to collapse. Governments are like, what do we do?
Lovely.
What do we
Look at
do?
you, mate. We've got 4 years of it over here in England.
Wait, Trump's not your king, though.
No, England's already collapsed. England's finished. There's no coming back from that.
Fair enough. Anyway, this isn't a political discussion. Moving on with Flat Earth.
It is?
Yeah. Got what questions I haven't asked, to be honest.
Earth is politics.
Any evidence you can have gas pressure without the necessary antecedent of a container to press upon?
Are you seriously bringing up these points again, the gas pressure stuff? No way.
Yeah, man. Ever since TFE, there's been an influx of globe believers seeking cope. And they like to strawman us by suggesting that we've been asking about guns and things like that for 8 years, when in reality we've been doing housekeeping.
Oh, God.
So part of the housekeeping, for example, isn't is there any evidence that you can have or not have a 24-hour sun in Antarctica or the Arctic for that matter? That's not a housekeeping question. What is the sun?
It hasn't been proven. The location
Hasn't?
has not been verified. The whole Antarctic thing has not been verified. It's all hearsay. Until you go see it by yourself, you have no evidence.
What does that prove or disprove? If you disprove that let's say I accept completely that it was fake, what does that mean? What does that do?
Good question. Real
Absolutely nothing. I'll help him out.
What if I experienced it?
Yeah, what if John... Okay, so we've got...
You did experience. You
So
haven't been there.
Go on. One more time.
Can I help
He said,
him?
"You don't know,
Absolutely
man.
nothing.
You were up there."
But for the sake of argument, blah tech, if John hypothetically said, I have been there, I did see a 24-hour sun firsthand, that's his account, and you prove beyond all doubt that Jaron did fake it, so I accept both. There is a 24-hour sun and they faked it. What would you do then?
As I said, I haven't been there. I can't verify for myself. Therefore, it's all conjecture. It was that.
No, but if okay, let's pretend that I had a group of people literally live connected to us now showing it, and we've been on for a full day, and it was unequivocal. It was proven beyond all doubt to any reasonable man, but also simultaneously we proved that because it didn't happen at that time of year, just so it's easier to swallow hypothetically, they did still fake it for whatever reason. What then? There is a 24-hour sun and they faked it. What then?
It's irrelevant. Okay, I went on holidays last weekend. I went to the beach. What did I see? Tell me.
The
You tell me
horizon.
what I saw.
The beautiful ladies.
Yeah, true. But besides that, you cannot verify what I saw when I went on holiday last week. You just don't have any evidence. You don't have the verification.
I mean, yeah, fair enough. You can take a
You saw
position.
the flat horizon.
No. Look, the guy's taking a position of hyper-skepticism, right? Now, when this gets put to us, we're like, what, would you deny the existence of China simply because you've not been there?
That question was to you, sir.
Now, I'll tell you a story. I went to China 20 years ago, across the border into Shenzhen. I was there for 20 minutes and I fucking left.
No swearing, please.
China's a third world shit.
That's a coincidence. That's about the time I was in China. About 2006-ish, something like that. 19 years. Is that 19 years ago, really, now? Oh, my God.
I've never been to China, so is it reasonable that I deny China exists?
Seems perfectly reasonable to me. So you won't accept this hypothetical? In other words, no matter what happens, even hypothetically, you refuse to accept a 24-hour sun in Antarctica, basically.
Of course.
Why?
Somebody has a model.
You have to.
I don't have to do anything.
You have not physically seen it.
Yeah.
I have not physically been there.
But I'm willing to...
I could go to I could climb Mount Everest and I could make all these assertions, take all these photographs, and you could say, well, I can't verify, can I?
Yeah, I can do that. I wouldn't.
Over.
That's unreasonable to be like that, though.
Of course.
Yeah, but I'm asking if you would accept it for the sake of discussion.
Right?
But you won't do that either. Hypothetically, your intolerance to it is so high that you won't even accept it hypothetically.
True.
Well, that's pretty
It's
out
like
there,
saying,
man.
okay. It's like saying, okay, go to the Grand Canyon and you'll see this. And you're like, oh, there's photographs online. There's all this. But really, I haven't been there.
Sure, but
Yeah,
why
that's case by case. Yeah, we get that with the sky vacuum. Well, it's case by case.
Exactly.
Yeah. I mean, but like I say, it seems you're unwilling to accept it now. I'd like to know why. That's intriguing. So even hypothetically, you're not willing to entertain the notion of there being a 24-hour sun in Antarctica, south.
Of course not.
I
I
got
would
that.
never accept a 24-hour sun in Antarctica.
Even if you saw it for yourself.
Of course not. Because there's a reason why there's restricted entry to Antarctica. There's a reason why you got to pay $50,000 to go there. There's a reason why one airline or
Oh
two
my
or three
God! Don't
airlines
tell me it's
are
because
allowed
of
to go to
24 hour
this
sun,
one.
bro. Come on. Can we move on?
No. This is interesting.
There's a reason why Norway is always apparent in Antarctic photographs.
Gosh.
There's a reason why Greenland and Iceland are apparent in Antarctic photographs.
What are you talking about? They're completely
Get
different
it?
locations.
Of course.
Okay. Why would it be a stretch, or why are you unwilling to accept a 24-hour sun? What's the consequence?
It's irrelevant what the consequence is.
Maybe it's a globe if it's 24-hour sun, right?
Don't lead him. I'm trying to fish for it without you leading him. Why would it be unreasonable to accept it? If I say there is a 24-hour sun, fair enough.
It's irrelevant.
Well, okay, but if I accept it, if I just say, yeah, fine, there's a 24-hour sun in Antarctica, based on what they showed in video format, that'd be objectionable to you?
Okay, fine. Did you pull Excalibur's sword?
I don't need to know. We've got past this now. We've had the analogies. You won't accept it. I get that, but I'm now accepting it. And I'm asking, based on my acceptance of it, would you find my acceptance? I'm only accepting it for the sake of discussion, because it's inconsequential, and I'll agree with you. But you don't want to even hypothetically accept it, and I want to know why. That's intriguing.
Of course I cannot accept the hypothetical.
No.
There is no way ever on God's flat earth I would accept the hypothetical. Ever.
Fine. Okay, then I can't have a discussion with you. There's nowhere I can go with this.
Who cares? Who cares?
So you can't comprehend ideas that are conceptual.
Okay, a guy
can. It's
went
a full
fishing. A guy caught a fish. He caught a fish that was 6 inches long. He goes back to his house. He says it was 12 inches long. Check out my 12-inch fish.
Look,
Yeah.
I can't accept this because I can't enter into a hypothetical scenario with fish or anything. I can't do that, like you can't, right? Do you see how it would be unreasonable for me to
Of
suggest
course,
now that I
because
can't accept your
you
fish
weren't
example
there.
because I'll get talked
You
through in the
didn't
middle of
see
my contrasting your non-acceptance of our hypothetical that we've tried 6 times. Yeah, you're now giving us a hypothetical example and saying you under no circumstances can accept this hypothetical example, but yet you're giving us a hypothetical example with fish. So we've reached the point of absurdity now.
Yeah.
So thank you for your participation, but you're kind of holding things up now. no
Have you been
offense.
drinking?
He's Australian. Don't be stupid. Of course he's been drinking. You like how I stereotyped
Moving on with the show.
the entire Australian nation as being alcoholics in one statement. Outrageous racism, only done for humorous effect. However, all Australians are drunks.
There you go again. You're making an assertion about Australian people.
It's a joke. I'm joking, you bloody drunk.
I'm still kind of caught up on the, if it's irrelevant, why does it matter?
Why the objection? Why the unwillingness to accept it hypothetically? I know exactly why. It's just getting it out. It's like getting blood out of a stone. Like, give me another example of why it wouldn't be reasonable to accept a hypothetical. No. This specific hypothetical about the sun going around and around for a full day in Antarctica. Hypothetically, if that was the case, what would be the issue? Why would that be a problem? We'll never find out, I guess.
You wouldn't let me lead him. So
I don't want him leading. That's the problem. I want to hear it based on the cognition of the person that's finding it objectionable. If I say, well, it's because your azimuthal equidistant map fails, that's assumptive. If I subtly lead him there, it's no different. It doesn't matter how subtly I do it. But he's here. It's nice that we've got extra people that we don't normally have. I don't want to belittle the guy. Been fun. We do actually have a video to respond to about Antarctica that we could get into, but, you know, I'm quite enjoying just chit-chatting. We really like talking to you too, Nathan. Oh, well, that's good. It's good that it's echoed amongst my panel.
why can't we just say it, though? Like, the audience is probably wondering why.
Go on, then.
Really? You want me to just
fill
go?
them in. Feel free.
Yeah, there's people that have accepted the idea that if there's a 24-hour sun in Antarctica, then that means that the Earth is a globe.
How does that work?
First
No.
you gotta have two models.
Oh, done. You're being objected to, John. Go ahead, Blartek.
Okay. You guys are missing the point.
I don't think so.
If there was a so-called sun in Antarctica, it doesn't mean that there's a globe. It raises questions about what we're living on.
Why?
We're looking at a concave Earth. We're looking at multiple suns. We're looking at apparitions.
Where are we
we're
looking?
at all these
Multiple concave suns.
dozens or maybe dozens or thousands of different scenarios or possibilities that arises out of this.
I see.
Okay, you just can't stand on a hill and say, oh, okay, because I see a sun is round.
Why not?
It's dumb shit.
The sun is round.
No, he's saying, we know where he's been led. He's saying you can't just say the Earth is a sphere because you see the Earth, because you see the sun for 24 hours in Antarctica. Now I'm asking him, why can't they say that?
They are
As
saying
I said,
that.
it raises questions. It raises scenarios. It
I don't think it
raises
does.
different possibilities.
It doesn't.
Endless possibilities.
Okay, I disagree, because the questions I have about the sun and what it does haven't changed at all since this observation. Nothing's changed, in fact. Nothing about what we say or do has changed at all in the slightest. So much so that recently I kept behind, from 6 months ago, a video about Jerem being a scammer, or moreover his reasoning behind claiming I'm one. And the rhetoric, the descriptions of the fallacies used in Antarctica are no different from 6 months ago to today. You couldn't tell it was a show from yesterday. In other words, nothing's changed for us. But you're saying suddenly, because if we do observe a 24-hour sun, there's all sorts of questions on the table. Well, no, not really.
100%.
The questions haven't changed for us. The same questions. For example, what's the sun?
What are you
We don't
observing
know.
the sun from? How are you measuring?
We have no idea what the sun is. We have no idea what the moon is. We don't have any idea what the stars are.
Okay.
Nothing has ever been displayed.
Yeah, I agree.
Ever.
So if the moon did loop-de-loops tomorrow, would it matter?
Okay, I watch the moon every day. It's there, it's there, it's there, it's there. It's in all different locations every day. It makes no sense.
Sure, but what I'm asking is, if the moon stopped in its position tomorrow, it just remained where you last saw it and never moved again, would it matter?
Well,
That means the Earth is
it's going to raise it's going to raise a lot of questions about God's
Would it mean that the horizontal plane needed to measure the elevation angle of that celestial body would no longer be a horizontal plane?
No, that's not where I want to lead him. You're right. Yes, just acknowledge that, right? We're always going to measure Earth flat with these celestial items. But if one of the celestial items wasn't moving, Would it matter?
Of course it would, because he raises too many questions.
Okay. So Polaris doesn't move. What questions does that raise?
A lot.
Yeah.
Because no one has ever verified what Polaris is.
That was the same yesterday. It was the same before TFE. Nothing changes then.
Mm-hmm.
Right. But you're reluctant to accept the 24-hour sun.
There's no way I would ever accept 24-hour sun.
Why not? What difference does it make?
I told you. It raises too many questions without any answer.
I don't agree. I don't think the questions that we had before TFE changed one bit. Nothing changed. I still don't know what the sun is. Same with the moon. So I tried to juxtapose it with the moon doing loop-de-loops. Sorry,
we
go ahead.
don't know why. Okay. We don't know why that the sun is all of a sudden angulating to this location. We
Just
don't
out
know
of
if there's
interest,
multiple suns.
let me ask you
We
something.
don't know if there's some type of what.
Well, prior to TFE, did you feel that you did have an explanation, i.e. it was reasonable to accept the azimuthal equidistant projection as an explanation of what the sun did?
No. Even as a child, I used to sit there and go, this is bullshit. Never made any sense.
But did you,
Ever.
at some stage prior to TFE, accept azimuthal equidistant projections as explanations?
Because they're all hypotheticals. What you want me to accept hypotheticals?
No,
Of
I'm
course not.
asking if you utilised that as an explanation prior to TFE.
Look, let's just break it down to simple terms for the audience. People wanted answers, and they went to like the kings and queens like 1,000 years ago, or 2,000 or 5,000 years ago. They said, "What is this? What are we living on? What's the water? What's the rain? What's the storms? What's the sun?" And they said, "We don't fucking know."
No, sorry.
So eventually, they said, "Let's create a scenario. Let's create our religion. Let's create a culture. Let's create a lifestyle." Right? And this is what they did. Believe this. And they went along with it. And then all of a sudden, 500 years ago, they said, let's just call it a globe. And people believed it. So they went along with it. We don't know. The government does not know. You don't know. We don't have any answers. And
Okay.
that's it.
Thanks. So,
Once you accept that, we can move on.
Sure, but prior to TFE, did you think the AE map was a reasonable explanation?
You're going back to the AE map?
Yeah.
No fucking way.
No.
Because
Fair enough.
Stop swearing.
Because you're not swearing?
Yeah, I'm broadcasting to a live audience. Please don't swear.
Okay, well, I forgot about that. I did remember. I remember you told me 5 times and I forgot.
It's
But
all right. Don't worry.
the problem is,
I'm fishing.
you're asking me to. Yeah, you're asking me to accept the narrative.
No, I'm not.
And I've already told you, I'm not going to accept the narrative because we don't know. Nobody knows. Anyone who is standing on the hill and saying, "I know the answer," no, they got no idea.
Sure, but what I'm trying to drive at is that prior to the 24-hour sun observation, there was plenty of flat Earth believers who did put their trust in the azimuthal equidistant projection of a globe to explain the sun and its movements. But that's not what you're not one of them, right?
I am not going to accept that.
And you didn't prior to TFE?
There's no way.
Fair
Ever.
enough. Okay. I'm still a bit in the
Because
dark.
no
ahead.
one has ever provided the absolute result for what we're living on.
What?
I don't know. It's fine.
Ever.
You said, wait, you don't know what you're living on?
We have no idea.
It's a flat
No
plane.
one does.
Yeah, we do. We absolutely do.
We know.
We
Okay,
measure.
okay, fine. Okay, fine.
The measure is to know.
We
We
know
know.
we can travel distances. We know we can go there. We know that there's possibilities. Is there more land past Antarctica? Is there more land past the Arctic? Is there a North and South
Antarctica,
Pole?
that's
No,
why.
there is no North and South Pole. It's never been proven.
Okay.
But the distance we travel
don't
are
have
linear,
seasons.
so Earth's flat.
We don't have any seasons in the Southern Hemisphere. Why is that?
What?
But we have seasons in Northern Hemisphere.
You have
Wait, what?
seasons in the southern
These
Southern
are
what?
big, these are big problems.
Wait, southern what?
There's no
Yeah,
seasons.
hemispheres is the
There's no
problem.
seasons in the Southern Hemisphere.
Southern what?
No, you seem to be asserting that you don't have seasons in Australia.
In the Southern Hemisphere. No, there's not.
Oh wait, southern what?
There's no seasons in Africa. There's no seasons in
Yeah, but
South
southern
America.
what?
There's
You
no
said
seasons in Mexico. There's no
he's not getting
seasons
it. I don't get
in
this guy.
Australia. But in the Northern Hemisphere, in Russia, you have seasons. In
Are you sure
Canada,
you're a
you have
flat earther, bro?
seasons.
Are you sure you're a flat earther?
He hasn't said anything about his
There's too
position.
many questions. But we
Either
know
way.
there's
Right, we'll accept the words hemispherically describing the celestial observation that's mapped with respect to the south non-point or Polaris. But in terms of his terminology, right, he's saying there's no seasons in the south. What are you talking about?
There's no seasons. There's no seasons in the lower part of the flat Earth.
Lower part?
No.
What do you
Because
mean lower part?
in Russia, Germany, Canada, North America, you have a temperature variation of negative 30 degrees Celsius to positive 30 degrees Celsius, a 60-point variation in the lower part of the flat Earth.
It just hear what he's got to say. Hold on, Guy, just one sec. Try to clear the airwaves for you. Guy, please try and cooperate. Yeah, he's saying lower. We'll get to that terminology afterwards, right? So far, 60-point deviation in Celsius. Go ahead.
Yes, there's a 60-point variation in the so-called seasons in Russia, Canada, North America, right? In the lower part of the flat Earth, there's no variation. There's like 15 to 20-point variation between so-called summer and winter, instantly destroying a globe. It's over. In Mexico, they have consistent weather. Oh, because it's what close to the equator. Oh,
Very interesting.
Not really.
Well, I don't know. I think it's
I
interesting.
almost think this
Can we
guy's
get off
trolling,
this?
man.
Here,
Why
I
would that
got
be
some-
I'm
trolling?
not trolling.
The guy's
Because,
he's in the south. He's just declaring his own observations.
In Australia, we have in summertime we have a 30 degrees Celsius average in summer. In wintertime, we have like 10 or 12 degrees variation. There's only a 20-point difference between summer and winter. But in the mountainous areas, you might have like a -5, -2, whatever. But we don't have -30s.
But you do have a summer and winter.
No, we don't have the same variation you guys have in Canada or Russia.
The variation does not make the season.
Well, what is it then?
How long do you have the sun above the horizon in the winter versus the summer?
What the hell is a horizon? You going to prove a
Just
horizon?
how long is the sun up? Duration of time. So for me, there's shorter amounts of time that the sun is in my vicinity in the winter, and a long amount in the summer. I'm asking, is that the same for you?
We
Does the
don't
duration
know.
change?
That's the problem.
What? Yeah, you do. Go outside and look.
We just don't have the answer.
Okay. So does it change the amount of time? How long the nights are? How long the days are? You're saying they're consistent always, 12 hours night, 12 hours day, always?
No.
Right. So they get shorter and longer.
hmm
Right,
But we don't have the extreme temperature variation.
Oh, yeah. I'm not doubting you don't have
Irrelevant.
the extremes. That doesn't mean you don't have seasons. You're saying there's no seasons in the south.
No. Not seasons defined of what you call in Canada or Russia.
I mean, fair enough. It's interesting to hear it. Yeah, there's not such a massive swing. I mean, I've spent plenty of time south of the equator,
Mhm.
but I've not spent prolonged periods there, like years and years at a time. So it's not something I would have noticed. It's interesting to hear.
But wait, how's this related? What
No,
is
you
this
just
proof,
gotta
and how does it destroy the globe? I'm still not getting it.
It doesn't. It's just noticing things. He's suggesting that based
It
on
does
the...
destroy the globe.
Again,
See, he said it does.
The globe has been destroyed.
Of course.
the globe's been created with measurements of Earth that's flat. So the globe is a useful tool to better describe the pattern recognition of the stars is all it is. So when you say destroys the globe, you're like, well, okay, but the globe's been created for a purpose and it's serving that purpose. It's just people reify it into the actual ground they're standing on. But destroying that, you just show how it came to pass.
Look,
You know what we mean
Okay,
when we say
guys.
destroy the globe.
okay, let me give you some historical insight into the globe.
Oh
The
boy.
globe concept, the globe concept was created before they discovered or fully explored the so-called southern hemisphere. It was created during the northern hemisphere exploration.
And how can you validate that?
Understand?
Well, no, he's correct based on the timeline. Carry
Look
on.
it up,
So far, so good.
look it up yourself. It's
As
over.
far as their timeline's
Because they
concerned.
didn't have knowledge. They didn't have knowledge 500 years ago. I don't understand, like, for some reason, our knowledge has not progressed. Or it was held back, or maybe people are just stupid. You ever consider that people are just dumb?
Yeah, I have considered
Yeah.
that. Yes. I was discussing it at the opening of this show, that exact idea. It's us that have done this. We've come up with these stupid ideas.
I just don't get it because the state I live in, I would say, is similar to Australia, and I'm definitely in the continental United States. I mean, I don't have 4 distinct summer, winter, fall seasons. I mean, we do, but they're not. I
Yeah,
mean,
but first he said there was seasons, and now he's saying there isn't. It's like this blah tech guy needs to make up his mind.
my state
What
got
state are
6
you in?
inches of snow, and that's the first time in over 100 years certain parts
Florida.
have snow.
You're in Florida then.
I'm in Alabama,
Yeah.
which I would say is
Alabama,
probably
okay.
similar to Australia as far as
I'm
climate.
in
It's hot
Alabama
most
too,
of
and
the
I
time.
have seasons.
Yeah. Right, yeah, we have seasons, but it's not like seasons in Massachusetts or New England where like they're
No, it's not
extremely
like New
different.
York. I agree.
Yeah.
But this year
Yeah.
it seems to be.
Right, you guys do have seasons in South Canada. We get it.
Right, but the differences in
Canada's pretty much
temperature
on
do
the
not
same
define the
level as
friggin'
the UK.
seasons.
No, South Canada. I'm just being facetious.
Oh. You mean America?
South Canada.
That's like
trying to
calling
get a word
England
in.
Big Ireland.
Yeah, pretty much.
Go ahead, Neil.
But the temperature differentials do not define the seasons. Can we all agree on that?
No.
Thank you.
Yeah.
No, they don't. You're right.
What? You're telling me temperature does not define seasons?
It depends where you are in the world. Temperatures differ. You know, if you
He
live
said
in a
the
desert
temperature
country, it's going to be hotter
differential.
than if you live in Texas. You know,
Hold on, I'm writing this down.
like if you lived in Dubai, you'd have 50 Celsius quite commonly there. If you live in Texas or somewhere close to Texas, you would not get 50 Celsius.
Pretty hot in Texas.
Yeah, it is, but I wouldn't say it's hot as Dubai.
Okay, well, I'm glad we did this.
Basically, to prove flat Earth, it's very easy. For some reason,
Yeah, it's measured that way.
around the
Hold on.
article,
How do you prove it's flat?
there's seasons as you move further away from these areas of seasons. We don't have it. And that's it. It's over.
That's deep.
I mean, that wouldn't convince me, if I'm honest. But each their own.
Me either.
If that's proving it to you, then fair
I
enough.
just told you, right? Why do you have a 60-degree variation in Canada? You further away, there's no variation. In Mexico or South America,
Yeah, we got all
or
that.
Africa, Australia.
But that doesn't prove it's flat to me.
If temperature, then flat.
100% is flat.
No, that's wrong.
No,
Don't
that's
say
deep.
that.
If temperature, then containment. Correct.
So, to basically to expose the lie, you just start from
What lie?
where you get seasons and where you don't. That's it. So,
Are you familiar with our general rhetoric in terms of how we prove it's flat?
irrelevant. That's your opinion.
No, it's definitely not an opinion
Isn't
when we
it?
prove it's flat.
Okay, fine. Tell me your point of view then.
That's how it's measured. Earth's measured flat.
Good observation.
Relativation? What does that mean? That's a new one. Sorry, I'm not familiar with that word.
My Lord, why have you forsaken my view?
He said good observation, but
Oh,
you
that's what it
gave him a
says.
measurement.
Yeah, it's measured flat. That's how we would prove it. So if someone says, how'd you prove it? You go, well, let's have a look at some Earth measurements. They're all flat.
Yeah, but the problem is you can't convince a normie by measurements that something is flat. It's impossible. I've tried.
Hello?
I mean,
It's like
there's no arguing with measurements, though.
Okay,
It's not if you measure something, it's
that
not a
mountain is
debating point
100
anymore.
miles away.
It's not a debating point if you measure something. I mean, you can, but it's absurd to debate it. Yeah.
People don't get it. People don't understand math or distance. They don't get it.
There it is.
Like you can literally go to a pilot or an engineer and say, okay, look, that's 200 away and it's flat. And he'd sit there on his phone and say, no, it's curved. Right? Because he's convinced by his math or calculation that it's bent. And he won't change his mind.
Well, but the
But
calculation.
there are pilots on YouTube telling us that Earth is flat. So you're applying a stereotype fallacy. Some people are belligerent to the measurements. Okay?
No, but
So what?
But exactly. But then you have pilots saying, no, it's bent.
Yeah, but the bent measurements that they're going to refer to rely on Earth measurements that are flat. So you said calculated for their maps. Well, yeah, but the calculations start with flat Earth measurements in all instances. So if they say, well, it's curved, okay, well, let's see how you come to that conclusion. Where's your measurements? And they will every single time go to flat Earth measurements to justify their curve calculations.
That's why measurements are key here, because they need a flat Earth more than we do.
Have you seen
so
that
they
video,
will use the measurements.
Right? There's a video of a female German pilot, right? She did 30 years as a pilot, right? And she was told the Earth is round, it's all bent, all your calculations are all this and that, right? And she believed it. And then when she retired, someone introduced her to flat Earth, and then she started to analyze things, and she realized the Earth is flat.
And then she put her open toe sandals on.
You are? Look, guys, I'll tell you a story, right? When I caught an aircraft from London to Hong Kong, 3 fairways. And this aircraft, like, they fly over like Northern Europe, they fly over Russia, and they fly over Central Mongolia. It was a clear, sunny day. And I looked out the right-hand window, looking at so-called south, and from Central Mongolia, I could see a chain of mountains, right? And I looked at it and I said, holy fucking shit. That's Mount Everest, and that's the Himalayas.
No swearing.
And I said to the guy next to me, I said, look at that. There's Mount Everest.
Please stop swearing.
And he said, how would you know that's Mount Everest? I said, trust me, that's the Himalayas. Right? So once you start to look at things, okay, from Central Mongolia to Mount Everest is 1,000 miles. And the height of Mount Everest is 28,000 feet, I think. And the aircraft was flying at 28,000 feet. So you're looking straight across 1,000 miles of these mountains. Now someone goes, how could you verify that that's the Himalayas? I said, mate, the Himalayas are 500 miles long. There's nothing bigger than on God's flat earth than the Himalaya mountains. You can see it from everywhere, or, obviously from a distance. And it's the same level as the aircraft. Like, there's no debating this anymore. Ever. There is no globe. There never was a globe. Anyone who says they are mentally challenged. Right. Unless you can find some other evidence, I'd like to hear it.
So you said to the guy next to you, just trust me, bro.
People are special. You've got to understand, like, once you get older, once you get to my age, you understand that about 98% of the world's population is special. Like, special.
So, and measurements
And
will not convince those people, right?
There's a minority of us who understand this, and we know we can see things and understand it. And that's it.
Distance is elevation on a ball. Elevation is no different than distance. Yeah.
What's up, bro? How you been?
What up? I'm just saying they don't know, like on their airplane, like when they fly vertically to 35,000
I don't
feet.
get it.
Hold on, brother. How do they know when they're past the horizon 35,000 feet to keep at 35,000 feet horizontally that way? So the airplanes on the globe, the distance horizontally never increases in elevation. So how do they ever get to 35,000 feet past the horizon to go around the ball to stay at 35,000 feet? Their instruments should have horizontal vertical reading, like the horizontal the vertical altitude increase, and then the horizontal distance, and then the horizontal altitude increase, because it should be just like that along the same lines. Yeah, 100%.
Horizontal and vertical are only possible on a flat plane. Those
Oh, that's
concepts
what I'm telling
only
you.
come from a
Right.
flat plane, not from a
Right,
globe.
because there's always there's always flat Earth underneath you, horizontally in front of you. That way, there's no elevation to increase going past any curve. They can't even get to a curve of the Earth. Remember, the globe has no edge. The very thing the rocket supposedly has to find to get to orbit. But then they tell you, well, everything flies around the
You
ball
know
just
what?
fine.
Look, I'll tell you how to find out the truth, right? You know these Lear jets or whatever they are, these small 8-seater aircraft. You could charter that, and you could fly wherever you want, and that's it. The problem is you're trying to observe out of commercial airlines.
No, there ain't no problem. You ask the Glober what the problem is trying to get to 35,000 feet that way. How come they can't never hit
Don't talk to
35,000 feet?
Globers.
No, listen. If you
Look,
can't hit
guys,
35,000 feet, you're
don't
not
waste
flying
your
around the Earth.
time.
It's just that simple. There's no
Anyone who walks around and saying the Earth's a globe, don't bother, don't waste your energy on these people.
Nathan, can I drop something in for some comments?
Yeah, sure.
Please.
Please do.
Has anybody heard of Saudi Arabia's new city they're building called the Line?
Yeah.
170 kilometers long, perfectly straight. 2 tower blocks built parallel for 175 kilometers.
It's going to be a super smart city.
Isn't that a failed project? I'm pretty sure it is.
No, well, I'm watching a video of them building it, unless it's all fake. But
How old's the video, though? Because that kind of matters.
Yeah, how long of a project is that?
Well,
300
I don't
years from
know.
now?
I haven't Googled it. I just had it come up on one of my feeds today, and I thought I'd love to see the blueprints for that and see if they're taking Earth's curvature into account.
Yeah.
What curvature?
Exactly.
Exactly, there isn't one.
They're in sand. They can make straight lines in sand, boys. It gives. It's like
I mean,
water.
sand's literally like water. You go to a desert, it literally moves like water. It appears
Yes, but the middle would have to be channeled out from the surface by what? 175 kilometers? That's 130 miles. So you'd be looking, the center would have to be channeled out 6,000 feet or more, maybe 7,000 feet.
Why?
Why?
If the Earth was a globe.
No, you can shape sand, dude. You can shape the sand. So if they have that much sand for that long, they just pack it to where they need it, level that bitch out like a big sandcastle. What are you talking about?
No, you can't do that. You have to.
If they have built it like a tangent to the surface, then surely the center of that has got to be below the surface level.
No, higher.
Well, then they'd have to
horizontal
rampage
line
it.
is higher.
What is going on here?
Just one reply at a
Hold
time.
on, man. A ruler doesn't go down around the ball. That's all. That's it. It sit right on top, up above, not below.
I mean, a quick
YouTube. Below.
But wouldn't it have a drop of over 6,000-7,000 feet at the end?
The Earth would, not the thing. The thing would have a rise.
Yeah.
It would have a rise at that end.
How would you support something 7,000 feet in the air?
If you got that much sand, just like sitting on a mountain 7,000 foot in the air. I don't know what to tell you.
You can't. Okay, you can't build on sand. This is bullshit.
What do you mean you can't build on sand? Have a look at Egypt, bro. Egypt's on sand.
No.
I mean, I found 2 videos I posted in main text chat about the line, and it's actually been cancelled. You know.
Has it?
Yeah, those videos are a couple of months old.
Really?
Yeah, I don't know I don't know why it's been cancelled, because the video is like 30 minutes long, so I haven't had time to watch it. But you know,
because you can't build on sand, bro.
You can build on sand. Just look at Egypt.
What about the pyramids?
You can
it
build,
seems as though they were machining down and putting massive support columns into the sand on the video I've been.
It's a very optimistic project. Let's put it that way.
There would be bedrock under the sand.
How far down would that be, though?
What, Fred Flintstone's hometown? Bedrock?
Yeah, how far would that be down in the sand?
Sand is one of the number one components of cement. And then the bedrock has to be in certain parts of ocean or underneath water to hold it there. Else, if it's just dirt or sand, it'll seep in, won't it? Something's got to hold water above the sand.
The problem is, if you're going to build mammoth structures on the beach or the sand or the desert, you're going to have to build supports. And these supports would have to go down 100, 200 meters to support that type of weight. You can't build on sand. It's a joke. Like, you go to the beach, you build a sandcastle, what the fuck happens? 2 hours later, it washes away or collapses.
Yeah, but that's because of the water, not because of the sand. That's because the water's like soaked all the sand up and it goes away. You know, if you're in like central Egypt, yeah, there's no water there. So it's not going to wash away like a sandcastle.
You will find that in Egypt or Cairo, they have shipped in mammoth amounts of rock and cement and all types of structures to support that city.
Didn't they build the
I'm pretty
pyramid?
sure.
Didn't they build the pyramids on sand?
Yeah.
Thought they did.
Were they level? They were level, weren't they?
Perfectly, yeah.
Yeah, but they're not. But the key part is they're still standing. That's the thing.
But they're still level.
Yeah. Well, I don't know about if they're level. Could have been down for thousands of years, but you know.
Oh. So they're not being slightly out of level from level? Bless, guys. What are we arguing about? I don't even get the point of it now.
Someone looked that up.
It's Blartex saying that you can't build on sand when you can.
No, you can't build on sand. No.
He's had too
And
much
that proves it's a globe house.
Yeah, he is
not
drunk.
a globe
You can
house.
tell it.
It seems to be they bore a hole and put a support column down to the bedrock.
Right, the down part is the problem here, right? You'd have to dig a ditch down how many feet? That's still from level.
Mm-hmm.
We're talking about a horizontal plane whole friggin' time. Why are we allowing a globe into this?
But no.
I don't think they are. I mean, with the Nile near Egypt, I think it's the Suez Canal. They built that without giving any sort of, you know, quotation marks, curvature to the earth. They just built it straight. And it seems to work very well. It's a popular trade route from Europe to like China and India.
And this is of a similar length.
Well, you talk about the line, right?
Yeah. Perhaps a little bit long. No, I'd just like to see if it was real, the blueprints for it. See if they've taken any earth curvature. They wouldn't.
I mean, I'm pretty sure if you watch one of the videos on YouTube, like a documentary about it, I'm pretty sure that they would have some sort of information like that. You know, getting the actual schematics for that project, probably not. But unless it's publicly available from their government's website.
When they say verticals are leaning away from each other. That would be a good test, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
A single structure, 175 kilometers long.
Verticals don't exist on a globe.
We appreciate your endeavor, but it is kind of like saying, let's go out and look for things that don't exist, like unicorns and monsters, rather than things that do exist.
What? Unicorns don't exist? You killed me, man.
It's a hypothetical.
Did Nathan fall asleep?
No.
I went to get coffee.
No. We're still alive. We're just chatting.
Yeah, man.
Playing on his game.
Hey, Evan.
Wait, what game?
Fortnite.
Fortnite.
That
Good
project, the line, there was investment problems with that. Because I think they had problems with energy and different things. How to supply energy to it. That was the story. I remember reading a while back. There was a story, something similar to that. That's why there was the problems about building it. It could just be, the whole thing could just be a big con job trying to get investors to invest in it. And, you know, siphon money off, or it could be a troll. Could be a troll. But if it was real, if it actually is real and people really wanted to build it, it's very likely it was stopped because of what it would prove. You know,
to be fair, the investors in Dubai are very over-ambitious, so you can see it as that as well.
Yeah, there was an investment issue. I can't remember. I remember looking at a video about it some months back, and it was something to do with investment and energy. That's why they said it was on. I think they said it in that video. It was on hold.
What would it prove?
To outdo America. Sorry, John.
What could it prove that we don't already know?
It's not. It's what I suppose it's what it would show. Because every day some new flat earther could point to it and say, look, this is this long, and they never had to take curvature into account. So it's a little bit like, I suppose it's a bit like some of the bridges they build, except for maybe a little bit more convincing for someone.
What was that bridge in New Orleans Parish that they think they seen curvature on? You remember that bridge?
Lake Pontchartrain Train Causeway?
Yeah. You know, it's got a height above the water level the whole way across.
Yeah.
It's almost like all roads lead to a flat Earth, eh?
I mean, there's another project in Dubai that failed. They tried creating like an island off the coast of Dubai that looked like the entire Earth, and they build on it, but it's sort of like half built and not being completed. So that's another failed project. It's like what someone said, that they're very ambitious in what they do. Kind of like Google, you know, with Google Glass.
Indeed. With that, I'm going to say, if you are watching this on either Nathan Oakley 1980 or Nathan Oakley Programming Streams, then stay tuned, as there will be an after show to follow.
Now, how you say that measurements don't convince people. I've never given someone a measurement and they go, prove it. Have you?
No, I make toilet rolls for a living, so I have to give people physical diameter measurements and radius measurements. Yeah, they can check for themselves.
Check that it'll be big enough to wipe. How big are these people's bum holes?
Well, I mean, if you're talking to a glober, you've got to wipe their mouth.
Will this toilet roll be big enough? Better check.
Well, some are kitchen rolls, so they have a different diameter size, different radius.
Well, how do you prove that measurement? And
with a tape measure?
No, that's how you demonstrate it. How do you prove it? Or am I using the wrong word there? Is the measurement itself proof?
Calipers, maybe?
I mean, that's just demonstrating still, isn't it? You got to look deeper into the numbers.
Like in A Beautiful Mind or something. Got to see them all moving around you.
Yeah.
I've got to
I'm not a number guy, really.
I'm not a number guy either.
No.
How did you measure your measurements to know them?
It definitely wasn't the ground, and it definitely wasn't flat.
So you got to look at the origin of the measurements, haven't you? It's like, how did someone come up with centimeters, meters, miles, kilometers, yards? How did all these come about? How did they know how large that distance is? That's the problem.
Well, we know one, don't we? We know where the foot came from Mr. Foot.
Mr. Foot. Why did he have 12-inch feet?
Starts with your thumb. That's about the average man's thumb is about an inch, and 12 of them makes a foot. And then they started using marching. So how many steps soldiers would march in a straight line, kind of thing. Then they brought in a roller, what's known as a foot roller. So it's a circle, a thing you roll, but it's exactly 12 inches around. So you know when you've rolled that from point A right around the point, like when you do one full roll on that it's 1 foot of straight distance. That's where they started. That's in today's present world. Let's just say how they started for today's present world. Like, I don't know what happened in the world, in the paradigm prior to us being here. But that's how they started in today's present world.
I mean, when it comes to when it comes to feet and inches, yeah, we can't understand you, Blah. You're talking with a sock in your mouth right now. I think he's just hot micing, not sure. But yeah, as I was saying, we don't tend to use feet anymore in the UK unless, like, the only time I hear it is that when someone says, "Oh, how tall are you?" "Oh, I'm like 5'10" or whatever, right? I never hear anyone use it in any other way.
We don't use feet in this country. We've all got segways.
I don't. I've got a motorbike. But then again, I still use my feet because I've got to shift the gears, right? Is that guy okay?
Oh, he needs a mute Logitech.
He's sleeping.
Thank you, whoever did that.
Was that the philosopher from earlier?
That was Blartek making those weird kind of noises, yeah.
What is a measurement for us to use them? How do you define measurement?
I don't know the answer to that. I mean, currently, well, we use centimeters, millimeters, meters, the metric system, basically. But that could change in 100 years' time. We might have new measurements that people invent or something. Who knows? I won't be around then. So,
what about the cubit? Is it? And what's the other one? The one from back in the Greek days and Egyptian days.
Stadia.
Yeah. Did he actually know the actual length of a stadia and how the stadia was derived? See, this is the thing. Like, sometimes we're looking back into history. We just won't admit. something else was happening back then. Do you know what I mean? Like, I have yet to hear anyone tell me why the pyramids exist. I've never heard anyone actually give me something that's coherent, that's definite. Oh, that's why they were built. That's the purpose of them, and that's how they were built. Nobody's been able to show me how and why they were built. That means there was something else going on.
A stadia is 1,000 paces.
I thought a stadia was something Google made. But I mean, the thing that I want to know is, yes, the guy who mentioned the pyramids, but also how Stonehenge was built, because that's just as confusing as the pyramids to me. It's like what, 3,000 years old?
I'd be more than that, I'd say. But that Stonehenge was moved.
How did they do it?
Do what?
But they moved Stonehenge in the 1950s, so it's not in its original place. So you wouldn't be able to find out unless you went back to its original place.
Yeah.
If it's been moved, how much of it was original to begin with?
That's the thing. It's hard to say, isn't it?
I never knew it was moved, to be fair.
Yeah, they moved it back in the 1950s, I think it is. There's images of construction vehicles and stuff like that. As far as I know, it was moved back then. Now, that is the story that I've seen photos of it. That's the story that was given. That could also be a lie. I don't know.
Yeah. But as far as measurement goes, because that's kind of the crux of this, can anyone define it? Does anybody know what that word means and its relevance?
Yeah. I mean, all I know what Stonehenge was used for, I think it from what I've read, I think it's basically like a giant sundial. That's what I read about it.
You'd have to have the knowledge they had at the time to say why. It's like there's 50 reasons why it was, and it's all these archaeologists and that coming, just pulling stuff out their backside. Same with the pyramids. They just got a load of egos who won't admit we don't know. That's all it is, isn't it? A load of egos. Like we don't know. Like with all our talk about the sky. They'd rather make stuff up than admit they just haven't got a clue.
Does this become a history debate now?
Well, it's the after show. You can talk about what you want within reason, I guess.
Yeah, especially Nathan. Let a drunkard lead the show. Good job, Nathan.
It's all right. He's going to make it up to us, Neil. He's going to play the video now.
The only one that could drink and lead a show is the Adam Meekin. What the hell was I just subject to the last hour?
Well, is Nathan playing a video?
What? I'm not doing. I'm eating a sandwich.
Absentee landlord.
Someone said it was a sensual goat or something said that you were going to play a video now and respond to it.
Your video.
I heard something about a video.
No, not my video. I'm just saying. I'm not specifically talking about my one. I'm just saying.
Yeah, I heard sensual goat had a
Where the video is pointing, where the video that we never got the.
Like
we had a video that we never got to, Brian.
In the TFE footage. Now, I just gave a very brief kind of a rundown of the situation. Just asking the question, where is the shadow, right? Now, there was something else I did, and I did it in a very brief way. And it actually wasn't the correct way, but it didn't matter to me at the time. I was just asking the question, right? What mattered to me was how much honesty our opposition were willing to have. because they're always harping on about you should be honest, you should be honest, you should be honest. But they're never honest. When it comes down to it, they are not honest, and that's the problem. So in this video, I'm going to show you what I did, and then I'm going to show you what I should have done. Right? Oh, well, not saying should have done. I did the right thing. I'm just saying what I did wasn't wrong. It's just that to really do what I was speaking about, you'd have to modify it. Right? So, 1 second now. First things first. Okay, where are we? Where is Google here? Right, there we go. Go to here. Right. This is a video that has been annotated or whatever by Where's Wally. It's the drone footage from Will Duffy. And this is from Jaron's channel or some nonsense, right? So I'm pretty sure the sound is off. That's what I need. So I'm just going to play it for a minute. And before we go into the shadow thing, I just want to point something out here. See here the pitch? Here where it says you have the roll and the pitch of the drone. Well, down here you have another pitch, and it's a camera pitch, right? So the drone could stay horizontal, but the camera's pitch could go up or down, right? I just want to show something, right? Because this is connected to the whole Blackpool thing from a few years ago. And this is why I wanted to see this footage, but unfortunately, the pitch of the camera has been messed with very early on in this footage, so it doesn't show what it should show, which I find very strange. Because back in them days with the Black Swan, or the Blackpool, sorry, not Black Swan, but the Blackpool Tower thing, where you had the mountains appearing lower than the Blackpool Tower, right? Even though I tore it all apart and showed with the angular sizes how it is exactly as you would expect to see it, right? If you show what they would be for the observer in relation to each other, right, then the angle to the top of the mountain would be intersected by the tower, right? Long story short, I've maintained from the very, very first day that turned up exactly what it was. I said it's visual occultation, which is an effective perspective. That's exactly what it is. And I've been trying to get somebody with a drone to go to the exact location where that man was, and just fly the drone straight up. Keep the camera and the drone's pitch completely horizontal, and to fly the drone straight up. And what will happen is the mountains in the background will appear to rise up above the tower, right? That's what will happen, because it's purely an effective perspective. And that exact effect starts happening here, and then Will Duffy messes with the camera pitch. Not saying he did it on purpose, but I find it a bit strange, right? And he messes with what you're seeing. So I'm just going to press play. Just 1 second now. I'm going to check the settings a sec. Playback speed. I'm going to bring back the playback speed to normal speed. Actually, I'm going to bring it back to 1.1, right? Leave it that, right? And I'm going to play it and leave it play slow, right? Watch the pitch here of the camera. I know it might be hard for you to see, but I'll try and stop it as we go. Now watch the background here, right? See the way this mountain is starting to rise here, right? That wasn't seen before. Now it's starting to go up. That's way back in the distance, right? And as it rises, now this mountain here in the background is coming up above here, right? And even at that, Will Duffy is starting to pitch the drone's camera down, right? So which takes away the effect up to a point. But it just does take away the effect, because what it does is that as we continue on, the pitch of the camera continues to be brought down. And what that does is it lifts up what's in the background up the way, right? See the way, right? He's gone back, he's down, he's minus 9.2 degrees now. So what he's doing here, I know he's trying to show the area here, but what he's doing with by doing this is he's creating, like, as if that's, to me it feels like, I could be wrong, maybe it's paranoia, but it's like as if he's creating what would be like some kind of big hill of globe earth curvature you're supposed to be going over here or something. When he was keeping it horizontal, the mountains in the background were coming up above the mountains in the foreground, and it was obvious what was happening. Whereas now it looks like you're just going up a hill. Whereas before you had a horizontal where you had mountains in the background that were rising up above mountains in the foreground, because the effect of visual occultation has been taken away. So this is a bit of an issue I had with this video. Either way, that doesn't matter right now. But because if you just look in the background, he still didn't take it away because there's other ones in the background turning up. See what I'm saying? If he just kept that, brought it up in the air and kept the camera pitch horizontal, you wouldn't be seeing this as it is now. You'd be looking out across a vast plain as opposed to this, which makes it, to me, it seems like he's trying to make it look like there's a curve. It's ridiculous, right? It's just trying to hijack perspective, something that doesn't exist within their paradigm. It's not part of globe mathematics. It's not part of the Earth curve mathematics. It's not accounted for in any way, shape, or form. But it's the very thing they have to hijack to try and try and mathematically come up with a globe. Right? It's pathetic. But either way, that's what happened. But the only other reason I'm showing you this video, that wasn't the main reason. The main reason, although that is a pretty serious reason, the main reason is here, right? Because this is supposed to be, right, the coordinates of where they were. Now, where the observation camp was. Now, I've had an argument with people on our opposing side about this because I maintain that they were closer to the mountain, right? But it doesn't matter because the point being is that I've had to deal with people who straight out lied in my comments in the last video. Instead of just accepting, in reality there would be a shadow. Instead of just accepting that and asking why isn't there, they'd rather just defend something they have no evidence for and basically lie, make stuff up. There was first of all, there was supposed to be a massive crevasse at the base of the mountain. I said there isn't, right? And the shadow was lost in the crevasse. And then suddenly that changed to when this footage came out. There wasn't a crevasse, there was a big hill in front of the mountain, right? And the shadow was being lost inside the big hill. Can you make any logic? I know that hills and crevasses can mess with shadows, but we're talking about a mountain that's 750 meters above you. Right, and you're only a couple of kilometers away from it. And there isn't a big crevasse and there isn't a big hill. So where is the shadow? Right, that's the main question. Where is the shadow? Now, I'm going to show you what I did the last time and why it wasn't correct. But it was correct for that video. Why I say it wasn't correct, it was correct for that video for me just asking the question. Because I didn't have to be precise in that last video in the same way as I have to be precise in this one. I don't have to be, or as I am going to be precise in this one. The reason I wasn't so precise in the last video is it was a question, and it shouldn't have ended up with people outright lying in my comments, right? It's a question. Where is the shadow? Where is it? Right? There's no if, buts, or maybes. That's a 750-meter mountain above you. You're only a couple of kilometers away from it, right? And the observation camp is slightly downslope from it. So it's not a case of there's a massive hill in the way or a massive crevasse in between the mountain base and the observation camp, right? It's just a case of our opposition just do not want to accept that there isn't a shadow, right? They don't want to accept that the shadow is just not there, right? The drone footage here shows a shadow, but that's just when the sun is off over here to the right, showing a bit of a shadow, and the sun is probably pretty high in the sky, right? But if we just come out of this a second, right? I'm just going to show you here. So here you have the path from the up close to the very peak of the mountain, coming down and to where they were, right? And I also have another white line which is going from the base of the mountain out to them, right? Now, just find this here, right? The length of the path is 5.37 kilometers, but that's if you're taking in the sorry about the flashiness. That's if you're taking in the peak or the whole mountain. But if you're coming from the base of the mountain, right, that would be 3.78 kilometers, right? From the base of the mountain out to where they are, 3.78, right? You can say 3.8, right? Close on it, right? So that's fine, right? The path is going to give us the elevation profile, right? So I'm just going to show the elevation here, right? There's the mountain, right? And that is not even at the absolute peak, because that's slightly lower. That's 1,374, whereas the absolute peak is 1,450, right? So, sorry, let's get this here, right? Either way, it doesn't matter, right? And that's their distance there from it, right, out here. Now, this is taken, if you're going to see 5 kilometers, 5.51 kilometers, that's because it's taken in the path, which is starting here, right? So you have the path starting here, coming right down, that's 5.5 kilometers out to there. But the distance from here, right, if we take minus 1.5, from here, right around there, out to here, is about 3.8 kilometers. And that's what it is when I show If you can get this to work, it's not working very well for me. So if I go to line 3.78, let's say kilometers, right? So that's the distance that they would have been based off of those coordinates. Now, I'm not saying I trust those coordinates, because I don't trust anything from any of these people. And I certainly don't trust anything from Will Duffy or Wally. But I'm not going to call it straight out as being incorrect or straight out as being fraudulent. But I just could not trust anything from them. Right? Never could you trust anything from them, because I've dealt with them for 10 years and they're willing, even in my last video concerning this shadow, the amount of trickery and lies and BS and changing of stories that went on. You know what I mean? Instead of just going, that is a good question, Brian. I didn't get that off any of them. None of them asked that question. It was like, one guy told me, only in the past day, maybe you need to do some mathematics courses and blah, 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 blah. This is all they've got. Literally all they got is rubbish, right? So I can't trust anything that would come from them. Nothing from them. There's nobody that I know of. I don't know everyone that was on that trip. But for the people I was aware of, right, including the flat earther, the two main flat earthers, I wouldn't trust any of them, right, ever, for any correct information. So these coordinates may not be 100% correct. They're actually, if they're not correct, then they're closer to the mountain, right? Closer to the mountain as opposed to further away. And I certainly wouldn't trust Wally. That's for sure. Right, I wouldn't trust them intellectually. I wouldn't trust them intellectually. That's all I'd say. Those who know Wally will know what I'm talking about. Right, 1 second. Now, this one I'm for. Okay, so the last time what I did was I used the height of the mountain here, which is 750 meters. It's 1450, but because Union Glacier is an average of 700 meters, I just used 750. Right, and I brought this back here, right? So using the height of 750 meters, when you bring that back to get to a point of getting a 13.4, right? 13.4 degree angle, somewhere around about there, right? You have to get a 13.4 degree angle to the top of Mount Rossman, you have to be almost 3.2 kilometers from it, right? But that's not the Eratosthenes method. That's just at any point to get over, once you don't have any hills or like any big rocks or any of these kind of things are in your way like you would have at the other side of the mountain. To get an angle to the top of Mount Rossman, right, for them, they'd have to have been just 3.2 kilometers from Mount Rossman. But that's not the Eratosthenes method, right? That's just what I put out in the last video, just to see what would happen, just asking a question. It didn't matter, it was just a question. But the actual Eratosthenes method is this. You know the height of the object, right? Then you determine the length of the shadow, and that gives you the angle to the sun. Because see, their angle to the sun, they claim to get, remember, they had that little, it's all flat earth stuff, all these elevation angles. But the point is that, remember, they had all those, McToon was going on about when I was debating him, they had those little snowballs, and they were using the shadows off of them, and they were getting supposed angles to the sun, right? When it was behind Mount Rossman as well with those, right? This is the claim, right? So, and they claim to get the sun having an angle of 13.4 degrees, and this is when it was behind Mount Rossman. This is what they're claiming, right? Now, I'm not saying any of this is actually true. I'm just saying this is what they're claiming. So, that means there's no point. That means if you must use their location and to get the angle, right? Because what I mean by that is that I'm going to just make this bigger. I'm going to make it orange, right? If they have an angle, if their angle to the sun from this distance is, right, if they were trying to get an angle to the sun from this distance, right, they wouldn't get a 13.4 degree angle to the sun because the sun would be blocked by Mount Rossman, right? So what you'd have to do is they're claiming to have got a 13.4 degree angle to the sun at this distance, right, about there, right? So that would mean this is 11.15 degrees. So you'd have to go up with this, right? A second now. Let's bring it up a bit. I remember a spot. I think it was 9.9, right? Right, that's 14.5. So it's a little tiny bit above. But the point is that to use this shadow off this mountain with the Eratosthenes method, right, to get that angle to the sun, they'd know the height of the mountain, and they'd have to calculate via the length of, they'd need to know the length of the shadow to get there to be, it should be 13.4, sorry, not 14.4, I knew I made a mistake. This is, 1 second now, 14. Sorry,
Nathan, can you pause?
I just have it wrong.
refractive curvature has his hand up.
Yeah, I was just going to say whenever you have a moment in that, I posted that in Ballbusters about the seismograph and how it works with the citation from the USGS.
Perfect. Thank you very much. I'll put it in book review. Awesome. Thank you. That's for Molten Iron Core, right? All roads lead to a flat Earth. Thanks.
Well, that's how you establish P waves and S waves to calculate for the rest of everything. It's the groundwork for all that shenanigans.
Perfect. Thank you very much.
Well, we'll pause. Is there anything you want to say, Brian, before we continue?
Yeah, I want to say something. I'm not Brian, though. I only have from 12 to 2 today.
Okay. I don't know if Adam's around because he's been at the dentist, right?
I don't know what time he gets done. So that's all I got for today.
13.31. Oh. I think that's where it was. Right. Sorry about that. I just had it wrong. So to get a 13.4, that's a little tiny bit over 30. We'll go with that, not to waste too much time. To get a 13.4 degree angle to the sun from their location, right, would mean that the shadow of Mount Rossmann, if they were to use Mount Rossmann's shadow to calculate that angle at that time, right, and they knew their distance from Mount Rossmann and the height of Mount Rossmann, to get that angle, right, they'd have to be this far away. Because they wouldn't be able to be at 3.2 kilometers away and get that angle to the sun, because it would be blocked at that point by Mount Rossmann. They wouldn't be able to see the sun. So to be able to get that angle to the sun using the shadow of Mount Rossmann, they'd have to be 3.8 kilometers away, which would mean that the shadow of Mount Rossmann would have to be that length. Right? It would have to be out there. That's where the shadow would have to be. Because you can't have a situation where where if you use the Eratosthenes method, right? Well, it's actually it's Pythagoras originally, but Eratosthenes is famous for it, where you have the height of the object, which is the mountain, and using the length of the shadow, that will give you the angle, right? So to use the shadow of Mount Rossmann, they would have had to be, right, to get that angle to the sun, they would have had to be 3.8 kilometers away, right? They wouldn't, but let's just say they were only 3.2 kilometers away, right? Now, I know I'd have to bring this back down again. That's still only about 550 meters or something in front of them. So there's no way, even if they were here, there's no way they could not view a shadow, this shadow, because it's going to be a sweeping shadow. It's not going to be just an instant. It's going to be a thing that's going to be there and grow and sweep across in front of them, right? No matter what, they would have seen it if it was here. If the shadow was actually there, then they would have absolutely seen it. There's no way, no ifs, buts, or maybes about that. I'll just show where with Google Earth here with the, where is it? Right, sorry, no, for the elevation profile, wherever the hell that's gone to. Right. Oh yeah, sorry, I show elevation profile, right? There's no way that they would not, right? There's the mountain, right? Let's just say the shadow only did come to what would be here. This would be the point. It'd be about 500 or so, 550 meters away from him. There's no way. There is the point where the shadow would. Let's just say if it only went that far, then there's no way that they could be here and not see that shadow, because they're downslope from up here. They're downslope from here. So that shadow, they're going to see the shadow. There's no ifs, buts, or maybes. They're going to see the shadow, even if it came to there. But they wouldn't have seen the sun if they were 3.2 kilometers away. The sun would have been blocked by Mount Rossmann. This is the point. Because when Eratosthenes is using the shadow that's created by the sun's light based off of the height of the object, right? So, right, here's Mount Rossmann. Here's the shadow. They get the angle to the sun via the use of the length of the shadow with the height of the object. So for them to do that, right, I'm just going to, 1 second now. For them to do that, I'm just going to get, 1 second, just quickly show, so segment. So, right, just very quickly, right? So for them to get the angle to the sun, right, based off of the height of an object and the length of the shadow, if that's their angle to the sun, then the shadow has to be, I'm just going to make that blue, right? The shadow has to be the length of the blue line for their angle to be this, based off of the height of the object, right? If the shadow is that long, right, then, and based off the height of the object, then this is going to be their angle, So what I used in my last video was the height of Mount Rossman and how far away you'd have to be from Mount Rossman, right, to get that angle, which would have been 13.4. But for them to have that angle to the sun, right, using the height of Mount Rossman and the shadow that's not in the footage that should be there, because it would be in reality, right? As you can see, the serrated line is just clipping the peak of Mount Rossman here and going to the sun. This would be the sun's light creating a shadow from here over to there, right? This would all be in shadow, right? So there's no way, absolutely no way in hell that they could get a 13.4 degree angle from 3.8, just under 3.8 kilometers away to the sun, right, when it's supposed to be behind Mount Rossman, without the shadow of Mount Rossman stretching out to where they are. Because if you're saying that is not the case, then you're denying the Eratosthenes method.
Cool. Is that it, Brian?
Yeah, that's basically it. I actually wasn't expecting you to review that or to put that on. It was a different one that essentially what was talking about. But the whole basics of that is, although I went around in circles getting there, as I always do, is that if they were getting a 13.4 degree angle to a sun that's up above and behind Mount Rossman, then there's no way, based off of the topography, there's no way that shadow would not have been at their feet. Because that shadow length would have to match with the height of Mount Rossman above Union Glacier, which is 750 meters. Those two elements would have to match that angle to the sun. Because no matter what way they twist or turn it, they have to be using, right, even within their own paradigm, they have to be claiming to using tangent planes, which don't work anyway with an elevation angle. But that's the nonsense they have to claim. But the point is that for them to get that angle to the sun, when it's above and behind Mount Rossman, then that shadow would have to be at their feet. That's just how it works. Shadows, you know what I mean? That's just how it would have to work. There's no way the sun could be 13.4 degrees above and behind Mount Rossman and the shadow not be there at their feet. Because they would have to match. Eratosthenes would have not. How could it not match Eratosthenes? That method.
Yeah.
So that's the point.
Well, you're putting it out
the
like last time, right? As a question, you're saying, how is this happening? Why is this the way it is?
Yeah, where is the shadow? That's like basically at the end. I just say, so where is the shadow?
Yeah, very good.
Yeah.
I'm glad we went through it.
Thank you.
Cool.
Yeah, thanks. That's the whole point. Is like the first video I was just asking a question. This video is still a question, but it's pointing out things that like I've been more precise with this video. The last one was just like, so what's going on here with the shadow? And I got a heap of lies and rubbish. This one is, where is the shadow?
Question? Right. What is the question, and what does it prove, one way or the other?
Well, if this footage is real and everything is real, then where is the shadow? I mean, if it's all real, sorry. What's that, John?
Go, John, go.
Oh, I was just asking, what does their answer to where is the shadow, what will that prove either way? I don't understand.
Well, it doesn't really matter. The point is that what they answer with, it's like there should be a shadow, because in reality there will always be a shadow. And there's nothing there to stop the shadow being there. There isn't a crevasse like they originally claimed and then changed their position to there being a big hill. None of those things are there. The topography shows that. So there's no way that the sun can be above and behind Mount Rossman and the shadow not be at their feet. But the shadow's not in the footage. There's no shadow of Mount Rossman in the 24-hour time lapses, or time lapse, I should say, or whatever. It's not there. So where's the shadow? Shadows can't decide all of a sudden to not happen, if you understand what I mean. They must happen. So that's a bit of a strange one.
Oh yeah, Nathan, I went ahead and posted a citation as well for how the cosmology is tied to the lockdown. Just to get everything straight.
Thank you very much, John. So this is the bit you're in contention with, right, Brian? Brian?
Sorry, Nathan, I was on mute. Yeah, it's when the sun is, yeah, all that there, especially when the sun is slightly over to the right, when it's right there, when it's right behind that peak. I mean, either way, there's a whole mountain there, and that sun is said, according to them, is not very high in the sky. Now, that shadow, based off of the coordinates that was given for the drone, no matter where they are, if the sun, if they're really getting the point is, if they're getting a 13.4 degree angle to the sun, then that shadow must meet their feet. The implications.
I said it last time I saw this, right, when you first did this. What was it, a couple of days ago? Is this
the
tripod?
Video,
It's tiny. It's creating a shadow, and you've got at this particular point of the time lapse, peak touching what looks like the haze of the sun. Where's the shadow?
Yeah, you can see the length of the shadows of some of the tripods, how long they are in comparison to the tripods. That's the length the shadow of the mountain should be. I mean, if you take that length and of shadow and with the height of the tripod, which is 3 foot or something, then there's no way that mountain can't cast a similar shadow. See, the thing about it is that if the shadow is not there, and it should be, there's only 2 reasons why the shadow wouldn't be there. Number 1, it would be that the whole thing is just a put on and it's all a fraud. Or number 2, the sun is not at the angle that they were claiming. And that destroys them either way.
I don't see any shadow.
Not be at that angle.
I mean, I don't see any shadow from this mountain at all in this footage.
No, it's just shaded at the front. That's it, isn't it?
So we're going to say this is fake based on that.
No, I'm not going to say anything. I'm just going to. I'm going with Brian. What you would expect is that it produced a shadow. It's got the sun right behind it. So why wouldn't it? So that's the question. Well, why isn't there a shadow? It just seems weird.
Yeah. As I said, if you look at the tripods, the height of the tripods in relation to the length of the shadows, then they're less than 3.8 kilometers away. So that's according to the GPS coordinates. So there's no way that shadow should not be seen sweeping across the front of them. It's not there.
Is it demons that have no shadows or vampires?
Vampires.
Nodal claimed something along those lines, didn't he? If there was a 24-hour sun, he said it would be the devil or something like that.
Yeah, it's just one of those things. It's like it's for them to work out, isn't it? Not us. It's like, where's the shadow? That's their problem now, isn't it? You know. As I said, it's either that the sun isn't actually going behind Mount Rossman, or the whole thing. We're not given all full details of what's really going on, and or whatever. The thing is a fraud, or I don't know, whatever. Or the sun is going behind this mountain, but it's not at the angle they're claiming it was, or trying to show it to be, which is also another fraud, because it means they've had to lie about the angles. Because the sun has to be at a particular angle to suit their paradigm. Now, you need a flat Earth for that. But anyway, that's always the point. The point is that there's no shadow. You can't have the shadows of the tripods be like that and have no shadow of the mountain. That just makes no realistic sense.
I mean, at this point in this time lapse, right, it is literally, obviously apparent, but touching the top of the mountain, the sun. I'd expect something, right?
Yeah. Well, if Eratosthenes' method is real, and it is, then the shadow has to be right over underneath the tripod that the camera is looking at it.
I'm still confused. Why would, if the sun is over the mountain, why would you expect the shadow to reach them?
Because of the angle that they're claiming is that the sun is at an angle of 13.4 degrees elevation. Now, I know that's a flat earth thing, but the point is, this is what they're trying to claim, right? Because they need it to be 13.4 degrees for their paradigm. They've had to hijack a flat earth to come and claim that it's 13.4 degrees. Now, the point being is that if you look at the distance they are from the mountain is just under 3.8 kilometers. If you look at the tripods, they prove the point, because to get the angle to that sun using the tripod and the shadow, right, you would have to use that full length of that shadow and the height of the tripod, right, to give you that same exact angle to the sun that they're claiming is there. So the mountain has to cast a shadow just as long in relation to its height as the tripods, and there's no shadow.
You don't need that extra statement. The mountain has to cast a shadow. Full stop.
Yes. But yeah, I mean, you can. All I'm saying is, adding to it, it has to. That shadow has to go to where they are. The shadow has to be right in underneath, basically underneath the camera that's looking at the sun right now. But there isn't a shadow, any shadow.
Right.
That's the problem.
Right. But with that, I'm going to round out this after show. So thank you for presenting it, Brian. With that, I'm going to say a huge, massive, enormous thank you to both Discord and G+ panels for making today's after show possible. And of course, a massive thank you to all of you for liking, commenting, sharing, subscribing, joining as a Nathan Oakley 1980 channel member, hit me up on Ko-Fi, joining as a Patreon, all that good stuff. Another massive thank you to Discord and G+. I've been Nathan Oakley, and I will see you all in the next video.